Storm over Warlock by Andre Norton, Chapter 17. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by R.J. Davis. Storm over Warlock by Andre Norton. Chapter 17, Throg Justice. The musty stench was so strong that Shan could no longer fight the demands of his outraged stomach. He rolled on his side, reaching violently until the sour smell of his illness battled the foul odor of the ship. His memories of how he had come into this place were vague. His body was a mass of dull pain, as if he had been scorched. Scorched? Had the Throgs used one of their energy whips to subdue him? The last clear thing he could recall was that slow withdrawal down the cleft inside the skull rock. The Throg not too far away, the sound from the entrance. A Throg prisoner? Through the pain and the sickness, the horror of that bit doubly deep. Terrans did not fall alive into Throg hands, not if they had the means of ending their existence within reach. But his hands and arms were caught behind him in an unbreakable lock, some gadget not unlike the Terran force bar used to restrain criminals, he decided groggily. The cubby in which he lay was black dark, but the quivering of the deck and the bulkheads about him told Shan that the ship was in flight, and there could be but two destinations, either the camp where the Throg force had taken over the Terran installations, or the mothership of the raiders. If Thorvald's earlier surmise was true, and the aliens were hunting a Terran to talk in the transport, then they were heading for the camp. And because a man who still lives and who is not yet broken can also hope, Shan began to think ahead to the camp. The camp and a faint, thin chance of escape. For on the surface of Warlock there was a thin chance. In the mothership of the Throgs, none at all. Thorvald and the Wyverns. Could he hope for any help from them? Shan closed his eyes against the thick darkness and tried to reach out to touch somewhere Thorvald with his disk. Or perhaps the Wyvern who had talked to Trav and shared dreams. Shan focused his thoughts on the young Wyvern Rich, visualizing with all the detail he could summon out of memory the brilliant patterns about her slender arms, her thin, fragile wrists, those other designs overlying her features. He could see her in his mind, but she was only a puppet, without life, certainly without power. Thorvald. Now Shan fought to build a mental picture of the survey officer, making his stand at that window, grasping his disc, with the sun bringing gold to his hair and showing the bronze of his skin. Those gray eyes, which could be ice, that jaw with the tight set of a trap upon occasion. And Shan made contact. He touched something, a flickering like a badly tuned tridine, far more fuzzy than the mind pictures the Wyand had paraded for him. But he had touched, and Thorvald too had been aware of his contact. Shan fought to find that thread of awareness again. Patiently he once more created his vision of Thorvald, adding every detail he could recall, small things about the other which he had not known that he had noticed. The tiny arrow-shaped scar near the base of the officer's throat, the way his growing hair curled at the ends, the look of one eyebrow slanting abruptly toward his hairline when he was dubious about something. Shan strove to make a figure as vividly as Logali and Trav had been in the midst of the illusion. Where? This time Shan was prepared. He did not let that mind image dissolve in his excitement at recapturing the link. Throg ship, he said the words aloud over and over, but still he held to his picture of Thorvald. Will. Only that one word. The thread between them snapped again. Only then did Shan become conscious of a change in the ship's vibration. Were they shutting down? And where? Let it be at the camp. It must be the camp. There was no jar at that landing. Just that 1 second of vibration told him the ship was alive and airborne, and the next a dead quiet testified that they had landed. Shan, his sore body stiff with tension, waited for the next move on the part of his captors. He continued to lie in the dark, still queasy from the stench of the cell, too keyed up to try to reach Thorvald. There was a dull grating over his head, and he looked up eagerly, to be blinded by a strong beam of light. Claws hooked painfully under his arms, and he was manhandled up and out, dragged along a short passage, and pitched free of the ship, falling hard upon trodden earth, and rolling over gasping as the seared skin of his body was rasped and abraded. The Terran lay face up now, and as his eyes adjusted to the light, he saw a ring of Throg heads blotting out the sky as they inspected their catch impassively. The mouth mandibles of one moved with a faint clicking. Again, claws fastened in his armpits brought Shan to his feet, holding him erect. Then the Throg who had given that order moved closer. His hand claws clasped a small metal plate surmounted by a hoop of thin wire over which was stretched a web of threads glistening in the sun. Holding that hoop on a level with his mouth, the alien clicked his mandibles, and those sounds became barely distinguishable basic galactic words. For a moment, Shan wondered if the alien meant that statement literally, or was it a conventional expression for a prisoner among their land? Do as told. That was clear enough, and for the moment the Terran did not see that he had any choice in the matter. But Shan refused to make any sign of agreement to either of those two limited statements. Perhaps the beetleheads did not expect any. The alien who had pulled him to his feet continued to hold him erect, but the attention of the Throg with the translator switched elsewhere. From the alien ship emerged a second party. The Throg in their midst was unarmed and limping. Although to Terran eyes one alien was the exact counterpart of the other, Shan thought that this one was a prisoner in the Skull Cave. Yet the indications now suggested that he had only exchanged one captivity for another and was in disgrace among his kind. Why? The Throg limped up to front the leader with the translator, and his guards fell back. Again mandibles clicked, were answered, though the sense of that exchange eluded Shan. At one point in the report, if report it was, he himself appeared to be under discussion, for the injured Throg waved a hand claw in the Terran's direction. But the end of the conference came quickly enough, and in a manner which Shan found shocking. Two of the guards stepped forward, caught at the injured Throg's arms and drew him away, leading him out into a space beyond the grounded ship. They dropped their hold on him, returning at a trot. The officer clicked an order, blasters were unholstered, and the Throg in the field shriveled under a vicious concentration of crossed bolts. Shan gasped. He certainly had no liking for Throgs, but this execution carried overtones of a cold-blooded ferocity which transcended anything he had known, even in the callous brutality of the dumps. Limp and a more than a little sick again, he watched the Throg officer turn away, and a moment later he was forced along in the other's wake to the domes of the once Terran camp. Not just to the camp in general, he discovered a minute later, but to that structure which had housed a comm unit, linking them with ships cruising the solar lanes and with a patrol. So Thorvald had been right. They needed a Terran to broadcast, to cover their tracks here and lay a trap for the transport. Shan had no idea how much time he had passed among the wyverns. The transport with its load of unsuspecting settlers might already be in the system